They left me out of the will. After I gave them $60,000 to save the family farm, my mom still had the nerve to ask me for more. Hi, I'm Rachel. I've been the dependable daughter all my life, fixing broken fences, wiring money at midnight, even selling my car during the pandemic just to keep their home standing. And how did they thank me? By giving everything to my sister, the one who can't even pay her own phone bill. If you've ever felt like the one who gives and gives, only to be left out when it really matters, this story might sound painfully familiar. Have you ever had to choose between family and your own peace? Tell me in the comments, because sometimes walking away isn't cruel. It's necessary. I had driven that road more times than I could count, but something about that early spring morning felt different. Maybe it was the way the puddles gleamed along the gravel path, reflecting the pale blue sky. Maybe it was the mud clinging stubbornly to my boots as I made my way up to the old farmhouse porch. Or maybe, deep down, I already knew. I wasn't just here to sort tax documents this time. The front door creaked open before I even knocked. I stepped inside, brushing the chill from my sleeves. The smell hit me immediately. Cinnamon, lemon cleaner, and something faintly musty, the scent of time passing. "Morning, sweetheart," Mom called from the kitchen without turning around. Her voice was warm, too warm, like a sweater you wear a little too long into spring, the kind that makes you sweat without realizing it. "Morning," I said, slipping off my coat and setting my bag by the door. I followed the familiar path to the kitchen, boots leaving faint wet marks on the wood floor. She was bustling around the counter, organizing nothing in particular. The hum of the old fridge filled the silence between us. "I gathered everything for taxes," she said cheerfully, handing me a half-sorted pile of envelopes, sticky notes, and grocery receipts. "You know me. All a big mess." "You're always the dependable one, Rachel," she added with a chuckle. I smiled automatically, the same way you might at a neighbor you barely know. Those words used to make me feel proud. Today, they landed heavier, like a quiet betrayal I couldn't yet name. I carried the stack to the dining table, clearing a spot between a vase of plastic flowers and an old cookie tin filled with sewing supplies. The afternoon light slanted through the window, casting long golden stripes across the floor. I started sorting. Electric bill, veterinary statement, county tax notice, a few unopened letters. Nothing unusual until I found it. At the bottom of the pile, tucked between two pizza coupons, was a thick cream-colored envelope, heavy paper, bold letters on the front, estate plan, more family. I froze. The air around me seemed to thicken. The hum of the fridge grew louder in my ears. Part of me told myself to leave it alone. It wasn't my business, not yet. But the larger part, the part that had kept this house together through every storm and busted pipe, knew better. If not me, then who? I peeled the envelope open, my fingers slightly trembling. The first pages were formalities, legal language, signatures. I flipped quickly, scanning for the heart of it, the asset distribution. When I found it, my breath caught. The farm, the house, the savings accounts, even Mom's wedding ring, all assigned to Lena Moore. Not jointly, not conditionally, just Lena. My name appeared once, in a preamble. "We love both our daughters and appreciate their unique contributions." That was it. No share, no consideration. I set the papers down carefully, afraid they might crumble under the weight of what they said. The hum of the fridge buzzed louder. The cinnamon candle on the windowsill flickered, casting a distorted shadow across the floor. For a long minute, I sat there, staring at the words that had so casually erased me. I thought about the years spent wiring money late at night to cover their missed mortgage payments, about the blisters from fixing the sagging barn roof in the dead of winter, about the cold, terrifying day in 2020 when I had wired $60,000 I barely had to save the farm from foreclosure. I thought about the birthdays spent alone because Lena was going through something, and my parents needed to be sensitive to her needs. I thought about every Thanksgiving meal I paid for, every emergency trip home I made, every tearful phone call where I told them it would all be okay, even when I wasn't sure I believed it myself, and apparently none of it mattered. I gathered the papers into a neat stack and rose from the table. Each step back to the kitchen felt heavier than the last. My boots squeaked faintly against the floor. The weight of the envelope pressed into my palm like a stone. Mom was fussing with the orchids on the windowsill when I entered. She didn't notice me at first. I cleared my throat. "Mom," I said, voice low and steady. "What is this?" She turned, the cheerful facade slipping just a fraction when she saw what I held. For a moment, just a heartbeat, guilt flickered across her face. Then she smiled too brightly, the way people do when they're hoping a smile can erase something ugly. "Oh, that?" she said, waving a hand like it was nothing. "Just something we drafted a while ago. You know, just in case." "In case of what?" I asked, my voice a little sharper now. She hesitated. "Well, Lena's had a harder time. We just wanted her to feel secure. You're always doing fine, Rachel." The words slid off her tongue easily, like they were well practiced. The hum of the fridge filled the space where I might have answered. I thought about asking why. Why hadn't they talked to me? Why hadn't they trusted me enough to be honest? But I already knew the answer. I had been the reliable one, the one they could lean on, burden, forget. Dependable Rachel, strong enough to save them, invisible enough to cut out without a second thought. I nodded slowly, pressing the envelope flat against the counter. "Thanks for showing me where I stand," I said, voice so calm it barely sounded like mine. Then I turned, grabbed my coat, and stepped back into the cold spring air without another word. The puddles along the driveway shone under the afternoon sun. I didn't notice them this time. I was too busy feeling the ground disappear beneath my feet. I stood in the doorway of the kitchen, that envelope still in my hand, and everything in me wanted to drop it, to pretend I hadn't seen what I saw, but I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't unfeel what it did to me. Mom was rinsing out a mug like nothing had happened, as if we hadn't just rearranged the future behind my back. "We thought you'd understand," she said finally, her voice light, like it was supposed to soften the blow. Like being strong made me disposable. I walked over slowly and placed the envelope on the counter, not slammed, not tossed, just set it down as if to say, here's what you did. Sit with it." "You could have told me," I said, quieter than I expected, "before making everything official." She turned off the water and wiped her hands with the towel that hung from the oven door. "It's not official. We haven't notarized anything." "But it's what you planned," I replied. "You wrote it down." She opened her mouth, but the words didn't come. So Dad filled the silence. "You're doing fine, Rachel," he said, sitting at the table. "You've got your own life now. Lena, she's still figuring hers out." I turned to him, more confused than angry. "She's over 30, Dad. Still between jobs. Still late on her bills. Still calling me when she can't find the rent portal." He shrugged. "Everyone's path looks different." "And mine looks like a doormat?" I asked. Mom stepped in then. "No one said that." "You didn't have to," I replied. The kitchen felt colder than it had before. Maybe it was just me, or maybe the air between us really had shifted. The hum of the fridge, the faint ticking of the wall clock, the way the light hit the linoleum floor. It all felt sharper somehow. I looked at my mom. "Do you even remember what I gave up in 2020? She hesitated. "Of course we do." I laughed, dry and flat. "Then let me remind you." I closed my eyes and the memory came rushing back like a wave. Fall 2020. The leaves had just started turning. Everything smelled like wood smoke and uncertainty. We were deep in the pandemic. Businesses closing, people staying home, money disappearing faster than we could track it. I was working remote then, lucky enough to have a steady paycheck, but it wasn't enough when the call came. "We're going to lose the farm," Dad had said, his voice shaking. "The tax bill. It's more than we thought." $60,000. I didn't ask questions. I sold my car. I emptied what was left of my retirement account. I walked into the county office with a cashier's check I couldn't afford, wearing a cloth mask and a coat too thin for the weather. The clerk behind the plexiglass took the check without even looking at me. I remember thinking, this is what family does. I never asked for it back. Not a dime. Not even a thank you beyond that first phone call. I opened my eyes and looked at them now. My parents, sitting there in a kitchen I helped preserve, built tile by tile, month by month, dollar by dollar. I didn't just help, I said softly. I carried it. They looked at me, but neither said a word. I picked up the envelope again. My hands didn't shake anymore. I folded the papers carefully, pressed them flat, and placed them back on the table like a declaration. Then let Lena start acting like the future owner. Mom reached out, but I stepped back. No, I said. Not this time. I drove back to Kansas City before dinner, my chest tight the whole way. I didn't cry, not because I wasn't hurt, but because the tears had turned into something colder, something heavier, a kind of knowing that sits deep in your bones. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed the envelope on my kitchen counter like it was radioactive. Then I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I opened my old budgeting app, the one I used to track everything for them. The farm's electric bill, vet expenses, emergency repairs, groceries when Mom said Social Security was late. I had tabs, folders, dates, every transaction a quiet sacrifice. $3,400 for new fencing, $2,200 for the septic tank, $800 for the kitchen plumbing last winter. The screen glowed in the dark. My balance showed $0, literally. I closed the app and leaned back against the couch, too tired to feel anything useful. At 9:41 p.m., my phone buzzed. A new notification from Venmo. Request from Marjorie Moore. $3,200. Barn roof repair urgent. No text, no call, no explanation. Just a request, like always. I stared at the screen, blinking slowly. Somewhere in the quiet of that room, something inside me finally shifted. It wasn't rage. It wasn't sadness. It was clarity. I didn't respond to Mom's Venmo request, not because I didn't see it, but because, for the first time in years, I finally saw everything. Not just the numbers, not just the pattern. I saw the shape of it, the way responsibility always curled its way back to me like a vine. The message had no context, just $3,200 for barn roof repairs. I stared at the screen for a full minute, then hit decline. My thumb didn't hesitate. A quiet buzz followed a few seconds later. Missed call from Mom. Then another. Then another. By the fifth one, I'd silenced my phone and set it face down on the table. I sat there for a long time, listening to the soft hum of the ceiling fan in my apartment. The windows were open, letting in the early summer air and the faint scent of someone grilling 2 floors down. The house I lived in now didn't have a porch swing or a creaky screen door, but it had space and quiet. And for the first time, it felt like mine. In high school, Lena once crashed Dad's old pickup truck backing out of the driveway. She hadn't even had her license yet. The back bumper was crumpled, the taillight cracked clean off. When they found out, Mom turned to me. "You're better at handling consequences, Rachel. Let's just say it was you." And I did. Because back then, I still thought love meant stepping in front of blame. The phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from Lena. "You're seriously making this a big deal?" Not, "Hey, can we talk?" Not, "I didn't know about the will." Just that. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop, logged into the mortgage portal, and removed my name from the cosigner role. I called the electric company, canceled auto pay. Same with the water, the insurance. I even shut down the backup joint savings account I had set up just in case 5 years ago. One by one, I untied the knots I had spent years weaving to hold them all together. It didn't feel like cutting ties. It felt like breathing. That evening, I baked banana bread. The kitchen smelled warm and real. Vanilla, cinnamon, just a touch of nutmeg. I didn't make it for anyone but me. I didn't plan to share it. I didn't even put it in a nice dish. I just sliced off a piece while it was still warm, let the butter melt in the middle, and sat at my small kitchen table, barefoot, watching the light shift across the floor. There's something about choosing yourself that feels both heavy and light. Heavy, because it means you're not pretending anymore. Light, because the weight is finally yours to carry, and only yours. Later that night, I opened Facebook. It wasn't something I used often, but I knew that's where people in our town still got their gossip and their God. I uploaded 2 photos. The first was a snapshot of the will. Lena's name in bold, mine nowhere near the assets list. The second was a cropped image of my old bank transactions, monthly mortgage payments, tax receipts, timestamps going back years. Then I typed one sentence. Silence is an agreement. I'm no longer carrying this farm or this family alone. I hit post. The next morning, I woke up to 32 notifications. Friends from high school, the pastor's wife, a retired teacher, a few people I hadn't heard from since prom. They'd all commented, some messaged, "Didn't know you were the one keeping the place running." I always wondered why Lena had that new car every year. I'm sorry, Rachel. You deserved better. I didn't reply to most of them. Just read quietly. Let the words sit. Mid-morning, Olivia from work texted me, "Girl, you might want to check your mom's Facebook. She's spinning the story." I sat back in my chair. I knew what I'd find before I even looked. I clicked. There it was. A post from Mom, time-stamped late last night. Heartbroken. Abandoned. We never expected this from our eldest, after everything we've done. The photo was of the farmhouse porch at sunset. Her caption was filled with quotes about family, duty, forgiveness. The comment section was already busy, praying for peace. Don't give up on her, Marjorie. Sometimes strong kids get lost too. I leaned back, letting the screen glow fade into the room's quiet. It didn't hurt, not exactly, but there was something hollow about it, like standing in front of a house you built and watching it go up in flames, not with fire, but with stories. Stories told by people who never asked how much you gave to keep the lights on. That weekend, I signed up for a baking class at the local co-op. Herbal baking, teas, infusions, natural yeast. It wasn't a big decision, but it was mine, and it felt like a seed in soil I could finally call my own. I used to think that truth had a kind of weight to it, that once you laid it out clearly, the people who needed to hear it would pause, maybe even reflect. Instead, they weaponized it. It started with a post from Mom the morning after mine had gone semi-viral in our hometown group. I didn't follow her closely on Facebook, but Olivia sent me a screenshot. It's heartbreaking when your daughter turns her back on her aging parents. After all the years we gave her everything we had, we never imagined silence would be our reward. Underneath the photo was the porch of the farmhouse at golden hour, edited just enough to make it look like a postcard from a simpler time. Comments poured in. "She'll come around, Marjorie. Stay strong." Some kids just forget where they came from. Rachel is the strong one. She never complains. Maybe she's just tired. That last one, it stuck, because Mom had said those exact words before. I remembered the way she'd laughed with a church friend leaning over the potluck table. Rachel's our rock. We're lucky to have one child who never gives us trouble. What she meant was, Rachel never demands anything, which means we can take everything. Dad chimed in a few hours later with a comment under her post. We just hoped they'd care for one another. That was his way. No confrontation, no real position, just vague hopefulness that could pass as kindness. Then came Lena. She didn't tag me, just posted a meme on her own page, a blurry sunset, the words in cursive. Some people are only generous when they're on top, but ask them to step down and their kindness vanishes. Her caption, interesting how people show their true character when money's no longer flowing. I didn't comment, didn't call, didn't take the bait, but my chest burned all the same. That evening, Olivia called. "I don't want to overstep," she said gently, "but if you don't respond, they'll keep shaping the story their way, and from the outside, it's looking messy." I sat on my couch, wrapped in the throw blanket my grandma crocheted decades ago. The apartment was quiet. A soft breeze moved through the open window, carrying the faint scent of someone's fire pit down the block. "I don't want to fight," I said. "I just wanted peace." "I know," she replied, "but sometimes peace needs a little fire under it." She was right, and I was tired of holding my breath. That night, I opened my laptop. I didn't rage, I didn't rant. I just lined up the facts like puzzle pieces. I posted the will again, highlighting Lena's sole inheritance. Then I uploaded my own bank screenshots, dates, amounts, repairs, check images, 3 years of steady sacrifice. And then I typed, "You can't shame someone into silence when they've already let go." That was it. No names, no accusations, no drama, just truth, standing on its own legs. By morning, the post had spread. More comments, some from people I remembered, some I didn't. Didn't know Rachel was the one paying for everything. I remember when the roof got redone. Thought Walter had hired someone, didn't realize it was her. We forget how easily quiet people carry too much. That last one came from the town's retired pastor, and for the first time in a while, I felt seen, not applauded, not pitied, just understood. I spent the afternoon in the kitchen, prepping a lemon rosemary loaf for the herbal baking class I'd signed up for. The windows fogged lightly as the oven warmed the apartment. A candle flickered on the counter, lavender and sage. I watched the flame as I cleaned the mixing bowl, the rhythm soothing. I wasn't angry anymore. That had passed. Now all I felt was resolve. Around 6:30, there was a soft noise outside my door. Not a knock, more like a shuffle. Then silence. When I opened it, the hallway was empty. But at my feet was a folded piece of notebook paper. No envelope, no name. I bent down and picked it up. The handwriting was familiar but shaky, like it came from someone older or deeply unsure. "They're going to lose the farm. You could stop this. Why won't you?" No signature. Just a quiet accusation, or maybe a plea. I stood there for a long moment, holding the note like it weighed something. The hallway light buzzed softly above me. Someone's television played faintly behind a closed door. I folded the paper and slipped it into the back pocket of my jeans. Then I closed the door, turned off the oven light, and let the candle burn a little longer. The world outside was stirring. But in here, I still had room to breathe. The farm went up for sale the following week, listed at $420,000. No offers. Not yet. I didn't rejoice. I didn't mourn. I just moved on. The listing photo showed the front porch in winter light, roof patched unevenly, fence leaning slightly, yard bare except for the brown stalks of last year's sunflowers. I stared at it for a few seconds before closing the tab. Kansas City had dipped into its first real cold snap. Snow dusted the balcony rail outside my apartment. The warm glow from my kitchen lights painted soft gold shapes across the floor. It was a quiet kind of evening, the kind I used to crave. Mrs. Keller called that night. She still lived 2 houses down from the farm and always seemed to know what was happening. "Your mother looked tired today," she said gently. "Lena's back. She's trying. Bless her heart. But she doesn't look too happy." I thanked her, kept my tone neutral. Keller didn't mean harm. She just believed in family, even the tangled kind. After we hung up, I stared at the window for a while. Snowflakes slid slowly past the glass like they weren't in any hurry to land. The next morning, I updated my blog, Boundaries and Banana Bread. That's what I titled the post. I wrote about the strange relief of letting go, about choosing peace without punishment, about how healing sometimes looks like baking something for yourself and not offering anyone else a slice. It was honest, not polished, just mine. By evening, I had 12 new subscribers and 3 emails from people I didn't know. One woman wrote, "You put into words what I never dared say out loud." A week later, I hung my first frame photograph in the little cafe near 39th Street. It wasn't dramatic, just a picture of an empty bench under a yellow tree, leaves scattered like quiet confetti. I didn't stand next to it or tell anyone it was mine, but I did sit in the corner booth, drink my tea, and feel the warmth of something new settling into place. The letter came on a Monday, handwritten, blue ink. Familiar looped script on a cream envelope, my mother's. I opened it slowly, careful not to tear the edges. "Rachel, I don't know how much time we have left to fix things. Your father is tired. I am too, but mostly I am sorry. We didn't see the cracks until you stopped filling them. I don't expect anything from you anymore, but if you're willing, I'm still here. Mom." No demands, no guilt, just paper and ink and time, trying to stretch its hand backward. I read it once, then folded it neatly and placed it in the drawer beside my desk, not out of anger, not out of finality, but because some things need to rest before they can be understood. I didn't write back. Instead, I slipped on my coat, wrapped a scarf around my neck, and grabbed a small basket of muffins I'd baked that morning, cranberry orange, still warm. I didn't make them for anyone in particular. I just needed a reason to walk. The sidewalk was still dusted with snow, footprints scattered like old conversations. The air was crisp, but not cruel. My boots squeaked faintly with each step, and as I walked toward the corner bakery, basket in hand, coat buttoned up tight, I realized something. I wasn't angry. I wasn't waiting for closure. I wasn't anyone's savior anymore. I was just a woman walking through winter, free, whole, unburdened. Even as I walked away from the past, I didn't feel triumphant or bitter, just free. I had finally stepped into a life where peace wasn't something I had to earn by staying silent. Sometimes the hardest part of loving people is realizing that boundaries are a kind of love too. We don't always get to rewrite what came before, but we can choose what comes next. And in that choice, there's strength and a quiet kind of healing. If this story reminded you of a time you had to choose yourself, gently but firmly, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment or simply carry its message with you today.